looking real cute. You working on the string lights?
No, working on our misters.
Oh, that's right. We're talking about refrigerators and freezers for the Forever House. And we have an LG fridge, right?
Yeah.
And we both fucking hate it. We have Samsung dishwasher and stove, and oh my god, I hate them. So I'm very anti both of those. And we're just talking about this, I want a standalone refrigerator and a standalone freezer. Kind of, I don't care about the exact brand, but like if you've ever seen a Chrissy Teigen video, like that big ass fridge behind her that's just a fridge, I want that, because that is the most useful thing in the world if you're entertaining a lot or you have cakes or platters or anything like that, and we are definitely those people, so we could totally justify it. But he just said you want something that's the size of 2 of these windows put together. These windows are massive.
Well, like,
width-wise.
Obviously not height-wise, because your short ass wouldn't be able to get anything off the top shelf. So, no, I mean, like, thinking... Like,
I can't even reach this.
Yeah, so if it was if the bottom section was gone...
I know.
You want, like, 2 full-size, one's a full-size fridge, and one's a full-size
Yeah,
fridge.
And I don't even need them next door to each other. I really don't. I've never hated a household appliance as much as I hate a dishwasher.
Well, I think it's just, it's too temperamental.
It feels level, right? Sort of?
Not really, but good. I mean, like, look at your picture. I would also, you have this thing about putting electronics right by the edge. And like, there is an 1/8 of an inch behind that thing.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know.
Like, I mean, are you serious?
Okay, so, well, we don't have to necessarily have this specific thing. I just Googled. They have 3 refrigerators in their kitchen, or it's 2 fridges and a freezer or whatever. But it appears, no, I think it's 3 fridges. So they've got 2 refrigerators next to each other that are like paneled, so they're probably like Sub-Zero. And then they've got the drawers below them that are, obviously, I would imagine freezers, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're fridge drawers, but they look like, they're just drawers, whatever. And then in between those 2 fridges is a wine fridge. And then I know she has a fridge on the other side of the kitchen because I watched a video where she went to it.
God, you come off like a stalker.
I watch her YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I really enjoy her.
Okay.
She makes me laugh. I relate to her a lot. So
Those are all things a stalker would say.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I really enjoy her. What are you staring at me for?
Like, you don't enjoy shit?
I just like the way you said it.
Oh. I was like, with that as your benchmark, we're stalking everything that we're remotely interested in. I enjoy it, so I follow it on social media, because if I don't, I'm not going to notice it. You could argue I'm stalking gardening.
Could be.
How do you do that?
I don't know. Following Jolly Green Giant on Instagram?
He's not a real thing.
No.
What other things do you want in the Forever House?
I mean, for me, most of my stuff's like dorky.
Like what?
Like electrical wiring and network wiring. I'm not a fan of Wi-Fi. So,
Yeah, honey, you have to explain that to people like myself.
wireless connections tend to suck. How many times have you bitched about Wi-Fi?
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to blanket a whole area with Wi-Fi. So any high bandwidth device. So think stuff like Fire TVs, Apple TVs, stuff like that. I like to have a
keeps
hard physical connection for them
Okay.
because they perform better.
Okay.
So, but also, we have a network that would rival like a branch office for some small company. Because I'm kind of a dork.
Yeah. But like endearingly so. Well, it's not all like networking stuff.
I mean, like I want things like I do like one of the things I think is interesting about this house that I wish I would have known about last year. Mm-hmm. It's got Christmas light outlets.
Yeah, he really loves that.
It's like it's actually pretty cool. So up in the eaves on each side of the house, and they're wired to the same switch, is a Christmas light outlet. Mm-hmm. Kind of cool.
You also want the coop cam and all the gardening technology.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I like building things, and I like to use that to make things for you because, well, I like you.
I like you too.
So I like building like those little IoT devices.
What is IoT?
Internet of Things.
What does that mean?
Think like little.
Like when your fridge has Wi-Fi.
Exactly. Or
He's had this conversation
or like soil probes. So like a lot of the things I'll end up doing like your garden. Mm-hmm. Like this place has an 8-zone irrigation system. Mm-hmm. I'll probably do like a 24 or 36 zone one for you, or 32 zone, sorry, where I go through and can do each individual area, but do different water amounts. Be right back.
Better lighting. So something that I really want at the Forever House is, well, are multiple gardens for different things. So for example, I want food production gardens. I've done so much research and I've kind of deduced that, like, you know, yeah, obviously it's easier to grow outside because, like, you know, the outside is accessible, but for long term and for my back, a high tunnel seems much more, not just like inevitable, but better.
All right, watch your butt. I'm gonna flush this thing out.
Oh fuck. Wait, do I need to move the camera? Don't yell at me if this shit gets wet. A high tunnel for food production, and then I want a greenhouse as well. And the high tunnel you can manipulate, you can manipulate both of them, but the high tunnel you can also manipulate for shade and at times for coolness. So I basically could get a longer, cooler season for growing. Oh, I just got rained on. Which for my needs are excellent because that basically means I get to grow greens, because where we live it's kind of hard to grow greens in the summer, hard being impossible. So if you have a high tunnel where you have a shade cloth and you can kind of control the environment, you have the potential, depending on how you control it, to grow brassicas, greens, etc. My goal long term is to grow 50% of the food that we eat at home. That's not to say 50% of the food that we eat entirely, because he and I both really love restaurants and chefs and like patroning places, you know, so I'm not trying to say that, but I do want to grow as much food that we consume at home as possible. I think that's kind of a given at this point. And then I also want to have chickens for eggs. I want egg-laying hens only. I don't want roosters. I don't want meat production hens. I don't eat meat. I don't plan on eating meat. I really don't have any interest in going down that sustainability road when it comes to animal keeping, because that inevitably leads to knocking up an animal, and then you got to deal with like the birthing. And if you ever want to go down a terrible rabbit hole, look into dairy goats for about 3 days. I really kicked around having dairy goats for a minute, and then I watched about 10 videos of dairy goats having babies and knew that it was only going to be me dealing with that shit, and it's always at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I really don't want to I don't want to have gone through that and deal with like all the potential issues that you could have with goats, like copper deficiencies and all that shit. just to hear, this tastes funny, or I have to add chocolate to it. Like, no. So, we're not doing that. But plants, yes. And then, okay, so the two main, like there'll be a greenhouse and a high tunnel for food production. And then in the greenhouse, I can manipulate it for heat, so I can grow citrus, I can grow avocados, etc. He really loves pineapples, so I can grow pineapples. You get my drift. And then I want to have like a desert garden. I've got like a really good vision for this. And then I've got a moon garden idea that I think, I've never seen anybody do a moon garden the way I want to do it, and that's not saying it doesn't exist, I just haven't found it yet. I really want to do, I have this like cottage garden idea that I'm just, every single time I think about it, I get so excited. And that right there is 5 gardens, you know, and that's not even the front yard. So, I got plans. Are you okay?
Mm-hmm. And I would have soil sensors hooked up to them, so I could tell how much water's in what, and then we can control those. So like, so remember,
so for
I mean,
growth success.
Yep. So I'm an engineer. Like take Rocky out, the sprinklers that we have now. They all have an API, so I could say turn on zone 1 for 10 minutes. Turn on zone blah blah,
Right.
and then you can keep track of what you did and figure out what to do.
We both are very particular about like rooms for people for activities. So like,
I like the idea of everybody having their own space.
yeah, that's a really big deal to him. So you want like a 10-bay garage with 20-foot ceilings so you can stack cars.
Not necessarily. I don't necessarily need 10 bays, but like I want to be able to have several different cars. So think 10 cars. So I like.
Do you want the lifts?
Yeah, like
Okay.
to have like a car lift or two. You know, something beyond what I have now.
Yeah.
Something where like I don't like it's permanent.
Yeah.
So I have a car lift now that I use. Like I used with the Camaro. The Camaro is not that tall.
Well, y'all saw it in the last video.
So like to save my back, I just picked it up with the car lift, and then it's a couple feet off the ground. And then getting the bottom of the car to wax it is a lot easier.
But you also want to have like your office and like a workshop in that area too. His thing is he wants to be able to like walk away from a project and not have to clean up the space so it's useful for something else. It's just the space for that project.
Yeah, so
Which
like,
I fully respect.
like for me, like one of those metal buildings would be just fine.
What do you mean one of those metal buildings?
Well, you and I get totally different advertisements on Facebook. So basically, they're just like buildings with metal sides, and so like I could easily do something that's 40 foot by 60 foot, and it's not gonna. And the most expensive thing would be like the concrete.
Okay.
And you know what I could do is I could finish out a part of it and put my office in there.
Okay.
And then the other part of it's not finished.
That could be the workshop?
Yep.
I got you. Well, and then the other thing though is we want a guest house for my dad. Well, for other people, but my dad's the first resident. Because we for sure know he's living with us. If there's a stove that I really want, there's like, I'm just really specific about the kitchen. I would like a clawfoot tub in the bathroom. There's like things, because it's the forever house. Like I don't want to move, we're not moving. Right? Like this, the whole point of this is to get it right. And I don't want to renovate it in 5 years. So there's just shit that we would like to have, but we also don't have to do, especially like the exterior stuff, because I want a greenhouse and stuff. Not everything's happening obviously at one go, because that's a whole lot of shit. But we'll see. I'm the only one that really drinks wine, so I don't need a whole room for it.
I mean, I go back and forth.
On what?
Wine. Sometimes I'm into it, sometimes I'm not.
Yeah, but you don't drink it. You're like, if I make margaritas, you're 25 times more likely to have margarita in your wine, and that's a conservative. Oh my god, I could grow like jalapenos, and we can make our own like jalapeno margaritas, and the jalapeno would be like homegrown. I could do. This is what I'm talking about. There's like way more fun to be had in gardening than just like the idea, the OG concept of homesteading. Like, yes, obviously there's total value in that, but like
Oh yeah.
And I would like to pursue those. Because I've done so much research on like homesteading and like self-sufficiency. And literally all of them, not one of them has...
You watched a season of Preppers?
It was painful. But not one of them had somebody like me. Or even somebody like him. Like if they were an engineer, they were nowhere near as good as him. And they were also nowhere near as like... I mean, at least in what they showed, they weren't as diverse in hobby and interest as you are. So like they'd be an engineer, but they're not into cars. And they don't like race cars like you do. And they're like sober, like sister wives. And I'm like, that's not relatable for us.
Dude, two of you.
Could you imagine me dressed like a sister wife? I would. That sounds like hell.
I mean, sister wife doesn't necessarily mean you gotta dress like that. It's like, but like, two of you?
That's a lot of work.
Oh, yes, that is. I would need like a third that like is mute. But then she'd probably be violent.
She'd be violent, is that what you said?
Wouldn't be able to escape it.
I'm not violent.
I didn't say you were violent. I said the mute one would be violent.
Oh, but so because I'm vocal, I'm not violent. So if you took my ability to speak away, I would use my hands.
Probably.
Maybe. If I'm annoyed enough and I care enough, maybe. I wouldn't dismiss that. Because I know if I don't feel heard, I try to make myself bigger. It's one of the, honest to God, I think it's psychologically one of the reasons why I wear heels. Like, prior to Rona, we could actually leave the damn house. Here's what we're talking about. I own sneakers I own Golden Goose platform sneakers, the running sneakers have like a 2-inch platform in them. Those are my sneakers, which obviously I don't get dirty. And then I have a pair of Adidas that kind of look like Yeezys that are super cute. They're black, but I only have one shoe. And then I have these other pair of Nikes that I probably bought when I was drunk or something, because there's no logic in why I bought those damn shoes. I hate them. I hate them. But I only have one of those. So I literally, if I'm out in the yard and I have to be in sneakers because he told me to wear appropriate footwear, I am in mismatched shoes. One's Nike.
Well, you should actually tell them why I say that. We'll be doing something where we're picking up something heavy, or we're swinging something, or dropping a shovel, and she'll be in Valentino slides. It's like, it's not
Those are my
the
everyday
right footwear.
Those are my slides. Those are what I wear outside.
Alright.
And I don't want to wear, and then he yelled at me about that, and I said, well, I don't want to wear my Golden Goose, because these are technically
I
cheaper.
didn't yell at you, I just don't want you to like, sweetie, your cuteness goes down with 9 toes.
Well, yeah, also,
I would still love you
I
with
feel like
9
my pedicure bill would go up.
I still love you with 9 toes, but
You love me having shrank almost 2 inches.
yeah.
That's a good testament to the stability of you and me. If you are new to my channel, I have advanced degenerative disc disease, and I have lumbar spinal stenosis and permanent mobility loss. That is a very, very long-winded way of saying my back sucks, and there's a whole lot of things I can't do, or I have to modify to do them, including sleep. So I can't sleep on a flat surface, like on a bed.
I sleep on a bed that has more switches than Snoop Dogg.
Say that again, because they might have heard the wind instead of you.
I said I sleep on a bed that has more switches than Snoop Dogg.
Literally, we had to go, we like looked at Sleep Number, and we looked at the Tempur-Pedic fully adjustable, and I think rather intelligently we did it when I was still in a lot of pain.
If you're my age, you remember the Craftmatic commercials? Beds up in there like, "Wah!" We got one of those.
Yeah, we do. But it's cool because it's like cut in half. If you ever listen to this comedian called Miss Pat says this, where she and her husband they sleep next to each other, but on 2 separate mattresses, and so she calls them the continents. And she goes, come here, baby, come to America. Whenever she's trying to get some. Oh my God, dude, she is hilarious. I was like crying laughing to her.
Yeah, her thing with Joe Rogan was good.
You could see him like you could hear him like pissing himself.
Yeah, he's...
Like he was so, I actually watched it. Like, it was one of those podcasts I listened to and then I watched it. He's so purple red from laughter in it. It's hysterical.
You see the bulge?
Uh-huh. Yeah, you kind of worry about him a little bit. Yeah.
He gets that vein, the bulge.
But, yeah, so we, I think smartly went and looked and then whatever, like just to kind of gauge off of me. And so we wound up having to get this fully adjustable bed that literally offers 0 gravity and massage settings. And we've used all of them. It's awesome. I mean, it's not necessarily something that everybody needs, but if you have back problems that are really chronic, you'd be, I mean, there's a ton of sleep science to justify it, but you'd be amazed at how helpful it's been. Even for him, he doesn't have the back problems that I've got, but he doesn't get the creaky back thing in the morning. And the only time I really wake up stiff anymore is if it's rained or it's about to rain, because I'm like old at this. Like, I've got like a 75-year-old person's back. Basically, I'm just influenced by the weather with my back. So you know when like old people say, "Oh, it's gonna rain," I can feel it in my knees or I can feel it in my back.
She's over here like, "Oh, honey, I feel a storm."
I can totally tell. It's crazy.
Well, so what I'm doing, you see the light. So you have a dark color and then you have a light color. The light color is a mister system.
He means those like cords.
So
just in case you were wondering,
in Texas,
not the light bulb and the thing. He doesn't mean the light bulb and the thing holding the light bulb. He means the 2 cords. So the dark cord are the string lights and the light cord are the misters.
Yep. And so what I'm doing now is flushing the system and putting nozzles in it. So the nozzles get stuff in them and are a giant pain in the ass. It's just easier just to replace them every year than clean them. So what I'm doing now,
Are they expensive to replace?
$15.
To replace all of them?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Oh, so it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Compared to $15 of your time to clean them, it's like not much.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No.
So what I'm doing right now is just flushing them. So that this is from last year, but this thing's been sitting outside, so it's probably full of nasty shit and dust and all that good jazz. So I'm just putting some nozzles in. That builds pressure and makes it go further down that way, and then letting water flush out, then go to the next. Tilt the camera up.
I did.
I know. I'm just saying.
He wants me to get a fucking tripod that's like the size of him. You want me to put it on that ladder over there? Will that make you happy?
No, absolutely not. Like, that's the thing is put electronics on the stable surfaces so they don't get fall and break.
Whereas I think you should be resourceful.
Dude, I mean, like, here's the thing. It's like if you wanna buy the camera equipment over and over again, you can totally be resourceful.
Those channels where the girl's like, "Oh, I broke my camera again. I had to get a new camera," and it's like every 3 weeks I say that. And I said, if it weren't for you, I might be that person.
I totally can see that.
Although I said prior to you, I had an Olympus, and nothing ever happened. Like I do, because they're expensive enough to make me careful.
Well, here's the thing. How many times did you drop it?
I will say,
Ooh,
no, that's a good point.
That means a double. That means high double digits.
I mean,
And poor Olympus is going out of business now.
Well, then they shouldn't have made such durable cameras.
No shit.
I will say this. I think I'm pretty cheap on technology that I don't understand, because I know I might have to replace it. So like, I'm not inclined to buy a $2,000 camera because I don't know enough about photography. B, I don't know enough. It's not even that I don't know enough about, it's that I get so fucking frustrated with the aperture and the exposure and all the other things. I don't need an associate's degree in photography to operate this fucking camera. So I would rather have like the vlogging cameras because they're just easier for people like me to use.
There's a lot of hornets' nests up there.
Where?
Up underneath our chimney, under this little eave right here that you can't see.
How many?
1, 2, 3.
God, why?
7.
Why?
I don't know. Probably because nobody's ever touched them.
Wow.
What's that?
I'm in an MLM, like an anti-MLM group, and just the shit that people post from their like, oh, this happened to me. Like, somebody went to college or high school with or whatever, like I knew like 25 years ago, got like friended me on Facebook and hit me up to sell whatever.
Be your own boss.
You're not though. You have an upline. Okay, I'll take this one on. I'll take this one on. If you're an MLM, look, I like whatever. If you're successful, if you're one of those people that like somehow managed to make a ton of money off it, awesome, good for you. I'd love to see how many of your friends aren't also in your downline or upline. It is as somebody who has like over 30 certifications. I don't even know what the actual number is at this point. I stopped counting, but over 30, who's done what I've done for 17 years, and I'm fucking good. I'm Yoda. You're an insult to the experts. Ooh. And you, especially if you're in skincare, if you're gonna try to sell skincare and makeup, just no. You need to release your clinical trials. I need to see your sourcing, your warehousing. I need to see your efficacy trials. I need to see how you handle contamination. I need to see your efficacy. I need to see what makes you special, what makes you proprietary. I need to see what actually justifies that price point besides paying 17 people in some bullshit team because you made some completely unstable vitamin C serum that you're just promoting as like the greatest thing that ever happened to anybody. That I just saw something the other day. I can't remember what brand did it. Oh shit, what brand did? Anyway, whatever. Somebody posted something where it was an eye cream and it had retinol, vitamin C, niacinamide, peptides,
and a partridge and a pear tree.
Literally, it was like, here's everything that's a hot button ingredient right now. You know what a retinol is, you know what a vitamin C is, you know what peptides are, you know what ceramides are, you know what niacinamide is. Okay, cool. So we're gonna throw everything in a goddamn eye cream and we're gonna sell it to you for this amount of money and you're gonna think it's a deal because of everything that's in it. Here's the problem with that. Retinol is highly irritating. Retinol plus a vitamin C, you don't pair together. You do vitamin C in the morning, you do retinol at night. Niacinamide is a calming agent, but it also is an active. So you need to be very careful with it. And if you're pairing it with vitamin C, especially an unstable vitamin C, which is what was in that ingredient deck, and especially with an irritant form of retinol, which is what was in that ingredient deck, it's traumatizing. Put it near your eyes, which are the most sensitive skin on your body. Eyes and lips, same degree of skin. I often say this is like tissue paper, this is writing paper, this is cardstock. For me, every body is different. Every body space is different. So personally, my body is more sensitive than my face is, but I'm a one-off on that. Like, I don't know many people who can relate to that, and I've had thousands of clients over the years. But I get very defensive whenever I see the manipulation of people, especially women, and that, hey girl, or hey boo, or whatever the fuck you say. Stop. Because you don't care, for one. You don't know enough. If you ever come for people like me that work in science or work on skincare professionally or do anything like that, you better have receipts on everything, because we are going to ask you questions that are going to make you want to cry. And we're not trying to be assholes to you. This is what I do for a living. I ask this question to anybody who tries to offer me anything.
Get 'em, girl.
Imagine meeting me in person and trying to sell me that kind of thing, because you bet your ass I do this in person. I went to a conference last year and I met a woman who has a skincare line, and it's out of Dallas, and she was lovely, and she led with, I wanted to price it at this level. I didn't, and I knew when it was an affordable line. She goes, I knew when I priced it at this level, I wouldn't be able to handle the heavy hitting anti-agers. That is correct. Anti-aging costs money. If you pair retinol and vitamin C in the same product, you're being lied to. Or it's gonna just destroy your skin, and then you're gonna be wondering why it didn't work for you. Why am I having a reaction? Because those don't work together, especially if they're not in stable forms. If you ever see ferulic acid with a vitamin C,
Oh, no.
they're cheating. They're cheating. They're cheating that formula. You could totally stabilize a vitamin C without using ferulic acid. Now there's like marketing around ferulic acid because of SkinCeuticals. So they're like, oh, ferulic acid has its own set of benefits. That's why we use it. Okay. Yeah. This is why I started a company. I could talk about this until like this pandemic is over. So I have 2 different melons that are really growing quickly. Like we're at that point where like overnight you see a difference. In the morning, between morning and evening, you see a difference. Like we're at that point where it's like really starting to vine and crawl and everything. So I literally like grabbed a tomato trellis, like a tomato cage, and I just gave it to the Kajari melons like in the moment just to give them something to hold on to. And I'm very quickly realizing, oh my God, what did I do? But I was so surprised one day. I came out and they were just like, boom. And I'm like, oh God. And they literally, like, you can see like one reached over onto the other one, you know? So I just kind of scrambled. Look at this like little jungle I got going on over here. I grew that. It's one of those things where, don't look, if you want to know what's going on with my hair, I don't know. I braided my bangs back because, we're gonna do some outside stuff today, tomorrow, and then eventually I'll wash my hair. But just for now, it keeps it out of my face. And most importantly, it doesn't even keep it out of my face, it keeps the dirt out of it. One of the things I was thinking was, you know, that how, just in all my research that I've done, they've all said the same thing, which is like, you know, it just gets so wild, it gets so crazy. Like once it shoots, it just goes nuts. And I kept thinking like, oh God, what have I done wrong? And like, I don't see this kind of growth. Like, I don't know what to do. Where did I mess up? Like I got the right soil, I fertilized. And as soon as I fertilized like I think about a month after I planted. And that was probably like 2 weeks ago. And they've shot up. So the melons are about halfway done in terms of their like expected harvest time. So that's pretty great. But it is crazy how fast it happens. And it's so exciting. And I was even telling Jeremy, I'm like, you know, we're problem solving this. But I said, we're solving a problem, that's a good problem to have. You know what I mean? It beats not having anything grow. It's just growing so fast. That's pretty exciting. Plus the other thing is it gives you, I have spent, what are you doing? She just doesn't give a shit about this cone anymore. She is just like slamming it into stuff. She wants it off. She gets it off tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. But like, homegirl does not care. She's done. Look at this. Hello. What up? So I'm in a mood, Mom. I'm done with this shit. I hate it. You got stuff on your furs. This is how you get burrs in your furs, Mama. That's how you get burrs in your furs. This is how you do it. You don't like it when I get them off of you, but this is how you get them to begin with. All right. So Jeremy just came back from picking up curbside trellises. So these are 80 inches, which in my research with melons, they said you wanted to go up to 8 feet, like 6 to 8 feet. So I was pretty comfortable with the 80 inch. I also like that. I mean, like the color is really like vital right now, but I do like the vibe of it. It's really bright on camera versus in real life. So this is what I did. It's taller than the fence, which is kind of awesome. But I went ahead and I tied these front two back up to their stakes. This guy, I left his stake in, but I took him off of it and I kind of stretched with like a bigger piece of the Velcro because I want him to eventually start trellising up. So I kind of want to push him back. This one for sure I need to kind of coach to kind of go back because you can see, man, these things that reach, they reach fast. So I want to coach back because you're almost there. You know what I mean? I just need you to get that way. So these two that aren't trellised yet, I have them, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think eventually I'd like to get them big enough to where I can trellis. So what I'm thinking I might do is like kind of keep these guys and stake in and then guide, if that makes sense. We're gonna see. I don't know, but we're gonna see. I grew this. And then the little guys, for this, I just tied them back up. These are plant Velcro, so it's perfectly fine. And I started to guide my big beefsteak up. So my Cherokee purples are almost there, but I just kind of want some, basically I put the cages back on the tomatoes, and then I put this cage back over the rainbow cherries. And with any luck, I'll be putting them to use pretty soon. Okay, so these are my sugar babies. This is 2 plants growing at once, I guess. I thought it was 1. I think it's 2 now. So I just kind of gave him a little help on that. These guys are not great for what I'm using them for. This is all an experiment. I'm gonna put my Velcro back on, but God, I am so excited to see what this looks like in like another week or so. I can't tell you how thrilling that just overflow of green coming out of this container makes me. I didn't fertilize this. This is just giving this like attentive watering. It's just like become a whole thing. It's like a beast. It's so exciting. Okay, so we've had our first problem with the trellis. I came out this morning and this had fully collapsed over. So all of these were like smashed basically. You can see, you could totally see. So I kind of tried to just, you know, kind of lovingly, you can see where the soil's kind of cracked a little bit there. I've just tried to kind of be very gentle and kind of give them, you know, some time. Get off my melon. Yeah, so I don't know, right? But we're gonna fix this. Like, look, man, my poor babies. So hopefully they'll be okay. Hopefully I will be so heartsick if they die. I'm afraid one of them, the root structure got messed up, so I'm afraid one of them is gonna die. But I really hope not. I pulled this one out because this had done the same thing. And this front one here, I've moved him since, but he was on the back of this guy and he had completely collapsed inward. So crushed this. So I put him on the back just to try to maybe give this guy a second lease on life a little bit. I don't know. But yeah, and then I've tied these up to that for the interim. But, oh, damn, dude. It's like hard to, because I'm like halfway through the growing season for these, or, you know, supposedly. And, you know, when you're like, oh, I was seeing really, oh, it hurts your heart. You want to tell people what you're doing?
Nailing this. This is a nail gun.
Okay.
And these are finished nails, so these have a little bit bigger head on them. They're more for securing things without adhesive.
Oh, okay.
And the other type of nailer I use is a brad nailer, which is for holding things with adhesive.
Okay.
So they're just like little, just think just the shaft of the nail. This has a little bit of a head.
Okay. So he's gonna mount my trellises to the fence because otherwise I'm gonna cry a lot more. This part's okay?
That part's good.
Okay.
Nice.
What?
That one didn't even come with a nail when they made it.
Oh, wow. Maybe that's why they were like falling apart for Tucker.
There we go.
Thanks, baby.
I'll watch the fence fall over.
Oh my God.
There was a class action lawsuit for these fences.
Yeah, so this is, you know, everybody says it's so easy to container garden. They're definitely, yes, it's easy, but there's also tons of issues with it. So it's something I would tell you if you are interested in gardening. I'm not at all saying don't do container gardening because obviously I'm having some success with it, but like it is super stressful. So I don't find it to be less stressful than in-ground. The other thing I would say to you is I have found it takes longer than in-ground to see growth.